Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today's video is really important. We're going to talk about the 10 worst dog breeds you could bring home if you've got a family with small kids. We're going to talk about, there's a couple breeds in here that you're probably going to be surprised by, and a couple that you're probably going to expect. I already know that I'm going to get a bunch of people in the comments down below criticizing my choices and explaining that their dog in one of these breeds is the sweetest angel. It happens every time I say anything negative about a dog breed. Listen, I understand that every dog has the potential to be a really incredible companion with the right socialization, with the right environment, but these 10 dog breeds have a bigger potential than others for creating problems in your home with small families. So let's get to the video. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button, ring the little bell so you don't miss any of our dog stuff. All right, so we're gonna get started with the dog breed that everybody knew that was on this list, and there's gonna be some pitty owners out there that are really frustrated with this. Because it has to do with their reputation. And in the pit bull's defense, it's not the dog's fault. We're the ones. People are the ones who bred these dogs for generations to be aggressive, extremely violent. They have extremely powerful jaws, and the reputation is earned. Statistics can't be ignored, and even though you've got the greatest pit bull in the world, who's never bit anyone, and your pit bull may live to be 13 years old and never nip at anyone, your anecdotal experience doesn't contradict the fact that over 50% of hospital visits due to a dog bite or attack is from an American pit bull. So again, I want to emphasize the fact that I do recognize this is people's fault. We bred these dogs as one of the #1 dog fighting breeds. And as a result, those genes have been passed down. And so the scary thing about these dogs is that while they can be very, very good companions, there's a number of stories where our best little buddy, the pit bull, all of a sudden snapped on a child because they were tugging on an ear or they were playing aggressive, and the pit bull got tired of it and latched on. So the pit bull is my #1 dog that you should not get if you've got small children. And again, I know I'm going to get a lot of negative feedback. I know I'm going to get a lot of, this is not popular with pit bull owners. And but the reality is, I'm grateful that there are people out there standing up for the pit bull breed, because what that means is that with responsible breeding over the next several generations, we can hopefully breed that aggression, that violence. We can breed that out of them to an extent, and we really can get a more reliable pit bull breed. So those of you that love the pit bulls, keep breeding them. Those of you who have small children, it's not ready to be your family dog yet. All right, the next breed is maybe not one that you're familiar with. It's not one that's very popular in the part of the United States where I live, more so in other places, but it's the Chinese Shar Pei. And the Chinese Shar Pei is that cute, wrinkly, adorable dog that looks like a little old man. My wife loves these dogs, and they are known for being incredibly loyal and very adoring of their owners. They can have a tendency to be a little bit grumpy with strangers. That's not the real problem. The real challenge with these dogs is that they don't tolerate abusive behavior. They don't tolerate negative feedback or harsh criticism very well. And the dogs aren't great at understanding when that abuse or that neglect or that negative response is intentional or unintentional. And so sometimes with small children, they might get frustrated, or they might do something to the dog that the dog interprets as being aggressive or negative or abusive, and then they're likely to lash out. So these dogs aren't really patient with small children. Again, I'm going to throw this disclaimer out there because I know some of you are ready to just type it in the comments. But the Shar Pei is, with socialization, there are those Shar Peis that do well around small children. Typically speaking, across the board, not the best idea if you've got small children. If you have a Shar Pei or you know somebody who does, that's just wonderful, I'd love to hear about your experience with that dog down in the comments below. All right, the next dog is probably not one you expected to be on the list. Unless you've owned one, then maybe you're familiar with some of these characteristics. This dog is the Chihuahua. Now, at first glance, you might think that the Chihuahua would be ideal for small children because it's a small pup, but these small little dogs come with a very loud, yappy voice, and because of their diminutive size, and they have a tendency to have kind of like a little man syndrome, and they do feel a little bit more susceptible when a kid comes running at them or reaches down to them. They're more likely to experience some fear in those situations. And again, animals are animals, and they're going to experience, they're going to respond to something that frightens them with either a fight or flight response. And so, if a little Chihuahua feels threatened in any way, especially in the case of a toddler that's not really sure how to be soft or gentle or how to pick them up right, it's these little guys can get very nippy, and they'll have a tendency to nip at the face. All right, number 4 on our list is the Akita, and this dog comes from Japan, and it is a gorgeous dog. It's got this big, beautiful coat, and when it's groomed right, it might qualify as one of the most beautiful dog breeds out there. However, being a beautiful dog breed doesn't make it the perfect dog for you if you've got small children. And a couple of the problems with this dog breed is that they're fiercely independent. Now, this dog gained in some popularity dating back maybe 10 to 12 years ago with the movie Hachi. It's one of my very favorite movies. You ought to go check it out. But if you go watch the movie, you'll see what I mean when I say that these dogs are very independent, and they're not always the most obedient dog. Richard Gere in this movie really wrestles trying to get this dog to be obedient, and finally he just gives up and lets the dog do his own thing. Now, one of the problems with the Akita in small children and some of the other dogs that are going to be on our list is that they're very big. And being so independent, they're not always aware of their surroundings, and so it's very common for these dogs to knock small children over, to kind of just plow over them if they're in the way. Okay, the next dog on our list is one of the most beautiful dogs in the sporting dog category for the AKC. It's the Weimaraner. And you might be surprised to see them on this list because they often seem almost elegant because of their sporting nature and because of their super hype hunt prey drive. When little children run away from these dogs, they get very excited, and it kicks in the chase reaction, and they can have a tendency to get a little carried away and roughhouse a little too much with small children. Okay, the next dog on our list is probably one of the most common police dogs of a couple of decades ago, and it's the Rottweiler. Rotties became very well known for being vicious attack dogs, very, very loyal to their owners, and incredibly good because of that loyalty and because of their vicious natures, or potentially vicious natures. They're also known as incredibly good guard dogs. However, when you combine their size with their loyalty to typically one owner or maybe two, it's not uncommon for these dogs to misinterpret someone's behavior towards one of their owners as being aggressive, and they'll respond in kind. That can be problematic, especially if you've got small children that start hitting, or I have several children, and often my kids will come in, even my little kids will come in and hit or kick, or they'll climb on my back. A Rottweiler might interpret that as being aggressive, and if they haven't been socialized correctly, that can create a really scary situation as the dog tries to protect you from your 5-year-old toddler or 5-year-old child when your child was just playing around. All right, the next dog on our list is the Alaskan Malamute. These dogs are another one of those just gorgeous, beautiful dogs, and because they're so pretty, a lot of new dog owners or people with small children will go grab the dog because of its looks without looking into its characteristics. So let me tell you a couple things that I worry about with Alaskan Malamutes. Number one, they're extremely rough players. Even as litter mates, they play very, very rough, and they can do that because they've got that big, thick coat that insulates them from the cold. The problem is your child doesn't have those big, thick coats, big, thick skin, so it's not uncommon for your dog to play overly rough, and when they're just play biting, still break skin. And that can cause some fear in your kids as far as growing up with a dog. Another problem is that because they're sled dogs, they're used to pulling on leashes or harnesses and other things. And as a result, it's not uncommon for them to break their leashes. So if you have any idea of ever letting your children walk your Alaskan Malamute, you might want to get the video out and get ready to send it to America's Funniest Home Videos, and then take a trip to the ER as your kid needs to get some bandages and some scrapes and bruises cleaned up. Okay, the next dog on our list is another, like I say, there's a lot of like big, poofy, beautiful dogs on our list. This is another one of those. It's the Chow Chow. The problem with the Chow Chow is that Chow Chows are almost like a cat in a dog's body. They're kind of aloof, they're kind of independent little buggers. And so as a result, they're not really crazy about cuddles and hugs, but they've got this big, beautiful coat that looks like a stuffed animal. So it's not uncommon to have kids kind of rush the dog, want to cuddle it, want to lay on it, want to hold it in. And it's, you know, like a cat and other dogs that are aloof like this, it's really common for Chow Chows to kind of, when they're done, turn around and not aggressively and not violently, but nip at kids to kind of give the message that, hey, I'm done with this kind of cuddle play. All right, the next one we want to talk about are the English Toy Spaniels. Now, for older people or families with older children in the teens to late teens stages, this might be the ideal dog. Of all the Spaniels, this dog's a little bit quieter. Is not known for barking and going nuts when people come over to the house. The challenge with these dogs is that, unlike some of the other Spaniels, they're a little bit less hardy to roughhousing. And with families with small children who are going to be likely to roughhouse with the dog, this dog's stress level is going to go through the roof. And being prone to anxiety and some high stress levels, they're very unpredictable when they start panicking. Oftentimes they'll just run and hide, but other times if they feel like they don't have a choice, they might turn and nip. Okay, the next dog on our list is another small dog that doesn't do well with poking and prodding and roughhousing. It's the Pekingese. These dogs will get little kids' attention because they look so unique. They've got such a unique coat, especially when they've been groomed well, and they almost look like a toy or a stuffed animal. They look so unlike other dogs, but when they get poked and prodded, they have a tendency to become very defensive, and like all dogs, their only defense really is to snip and bite and bark and growl and snarl. And that can create problems for small children. The other issue with these dogs is they're extremely territorial, and they're known as food guarders. So if your child approaches them while the dog is eating, it's another time where you might have a really unfortunate situation. Okay, the last dog on our list that we want to talk about is the Shitzu. Now, I know a lot of people have these dogs and love them. We had a Shitzu and absolutely adored our little Bella. And she was wonderful. And then all of a sudden something flipped in her. Now, I know that some of you have incredible experiences, and you're going to say that experience will counteract mine. With all small dogs, there's a tendency of an intimidation factor where children who are bigger than them are reaching down and don't understand how to handle smaller dogs might cause the dog to go into fight or flight. And if the dog feels cornered, they're going to be likely to snap. Now, one of the things that we loved about Bella was that when we brought a brand new baby home, and Bella became very possessive of this little baby. We have got just some awesome memories of Bella watching over our new little bundle of joy. But she became very territorial, and as other strangers outside of our home would come over to see the baby, she became angry and would bark and nip. And at one point even chased a boy down, bit him, and broke skin through his Levi's. So these dogs can become very, very possessive and territorial, and even possessive or territorial of somebody in the family, so that if somebody else in the family were to act aggressive, even if they were playing, towards that person that the dog's made the connection to, you run the risk of the dog getting angry or defensive. Hey, so there's my list of the worst dog breeds for families with small children. I know there's going to be a lot of you who disagree with some of the breeds that are on here. That's fine. Please leave me a comment down below. Tell me which breed is on the list, but doesn't belong to be on here. Tell me your story. Tell me about the great experiences you've had with one of these dogs. I will read them all. I always love reading when people have great experiences with their dogs. So go ahead and leave that. If this video has been any help to you, or if you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about some of these dog breeds, please subscribe and make sure you ring the little bell next to it so that you get notified every time we send one of these videos out.